Have you ever wondered why you keep manifesting things that you don't want? Why you're still stuck in the same reality and nothing seems to be shifting? In today's video, I'm going to explore a very interesting phenomenon within quantum physics that might shed some light on why manifestation sometimes feels like it's not working. My name's Georgia. I have a master's degree in consciousness, spirituality and transpersonal psychology, and in my free time I love to research manifestation and the science behind shifting our reality. Today I'm going to talk about why you might not be manifesting your desires, even if it seems like you've done everything right, like setting your intentions or creating a vision board. It can be so frustrating when you get stuck in a reality that you don't want to experience. So today I'm going to turn to quantum physics, which might help us uncover why this is happening, and I'm also going to give you some practical tips about how you can solve the problem. So quantum physics might have everything or nothing to do with how we create our reality, but either way it offers a very compelling analogy to better understand manifestation. So quantum physics is essentially the study of the tiny particles that make up our reality. So it's essentially about the building blocks of everything we experience. Now, interestingly, in quantum physics, despite what we would assume, quantum particles like electrons exist in an undetermined state, like a cloud of multiple possibilities, until they are interacted with in some way. This state of multiple possibilities is called a superposition. However, just note here that superposition doesn't mean that a particle is in multiple states at once in a classical sense. For our purposes, it's easiest just to think of it as the particle is in an undetermined state until it is interacted with in some way. Now, when that quantum system, like an electron, which is currently in an undetermined state, interacts with its environment, the superposition collapses into a single definite state. Now, this process is called quantum decoherence. So basically a quantum system state isn't determined, but it then interacts with its environment, which causes it to lose the superposition and to become a definite state like we would expect. To make this a little clearer, I want you to imagine a coin. Let's pretend that coin is a quantum system, and when it's spinning in the air, it's unclear whether it's heads or tails. We could say that its state is undetermined. So this would represent quantum superposition. Now, when that coin lands on a table, the interaction with the table would cause it to collapse into one outcome, either heads or tails. This would represent quantum decoherence. So the coin's interaction with its environment, in this case the table, causes it to lose its superposition of kind of being in a state of both heads and tails at once, and to select one of those two possibilities. Now, a key thing to note here is that quantum decoherence explains the collapse of the possibilities, but it doesn't tell us which state is going to be selected. That is left to probability. Now, tying this to manifestation, I want you to think of your reality like a quantum particle, an infinite field of possibilities. All of your desires exist as possible realities, just like the undetermined state of a quantum particle. Now, here's the issue. When your focus is scattered, when you're busy focusing on what you don't want or constantly shifting between different intentions, this is like introducing environmental noise into the quantum system. The noise forces your reality to collapse into one that you didn't consciously choose. So when your thoughts aren't focused, you basically leave it up to probability or chance. Remember, quantum decoherence doesn't explain which state will be selected, only that one will be. So similarly, when your thoughts remain scattered and unfocused, you might be unconsciously collapsing an unwanted reality. So we want to look at the flip side of this. In quantum physics, if we go beyond quantum decoherence, there is an issue in quantum physics called the measurement problem, which basically refers to the fact that in quantum experiments, when a measurement is taken, it causes the quantum superposition to collapse into a definite state. Now, the reason this is called the measurement problem is because no one actually knows what's going on here. No one knows why the presence of a measuring device seems to have this effect. So this has led to multiple different interpretations of what is going on in quantum physics, and these interpretations all hinge on this question of what is causing a superposition to collapse into one definite state. How is a specific state being selected out of the different possibilities? One very intriguing interpretation is the consciousness collapse model, which suggests that observation by a conscious being is responsible for this collapse of the superposition. Now, if this is true, then it suggests that consciousness might play an active role in influencing the outcome. in selecting one potential out of infinite possibilities instead of leaving it to chance or probability. If we go back to the coin analogy, imagine you are watching the coin spinning in the air. In the consciousness collapse model, the idea would be that you observing that coin could influence whether it lands on heads or tails. So the idea is that your focus or awareness might be able to choose the outcome instead of leaving it to randomness. Whether or not the consciousness collapse model is true, because no one ultimately knows, it is speculative, it still provides a very powerful metaphor for manifestation. Your focus acts like consciousness in this analogy. By deliberately directing your attention to your desires and to the reality you want to experience, the idea is that you can choose your reality instead of just leaving it to your scattered thoughts or your limiting beliefs, which would be the equivalent of quantum decoherence, essentially letting those possibilities interact with the environment and letting them collapse based on probability rather than selecting it. So the problem is we often spend too much time focusing on what we don't want, on everything that's going wrong in our lives, even if we don't necessarily realize it, because a lot of the time this happens unconsciously. But maybe something you're really wanting to experience in life is a new healthy relationship, but instead you spend so much of your time focusing on how lonely you feel, on the fact that you haven't met anyone yet. Or maybe there's a specific career path that you want to manifest, but you spend all of your time focusing on the job you hate, moaning about your co-workers, on the work that you have to do. And it's not necessarily our fault that we think this way. Our brains have a negativity bias, which makes it natural for us to focus on the problems in our life and all of the things that we don't like. But this is something that we do intentionally have to shift, because otherwise we're making it impossible to manifest our desires. We can also see the impact of our focus from a neuroscientific perspective. We have a system in our brain called the reticular activating system, which filters incoming information based on what we focus on. We already talked about how in the consciousness collapse model, the act of observation collapses possibilities into one specific state. Similarly, we could say that your reticular activating system collapses your perception based on your dominant thoughts and beliefs. When you constantly focus on what you don't want, then your reticular activating system is constantly highlighting evidence of those unwanted things. On the other hand, if you focus on what you do want and are constantly directing your attention to your goals and your desires, then your reticular activating system is actually going to filter in opportunities and ideas and resources that are in alignment with your desires instead. So your perception, and as a result your experience of reality, is shaped by where you direct your attention. So clearly our focus is very important when it comes to manifesting our desires. So if you are failing to manifest the life you want at the moment, it might be because your attention is too scattered and focused on everything you don't want to experience. You're leaving your reality up to chance because your attention is going everywhere except the vision that you want to create. So now I'm going to give you some practical tips about how you can take charge of your focus and your attention, and as a result collapse the reality you actually want to experience. The first thing you need to do is define your desires. You need to get crystal clear about what it is you want to manifest, because if you don't have a clear vision, then you have nothing to anchor your focus to. So script it, make a vision board, do whatever you want. Just make sure you have an unbelievably clear vision of what you want your life to look like. What career do you want? What do you want your relationships to look like? Where do you want to live? What are you doing on a day-to-day basis? What is your daily routine? You need to get so clear on this so that you can anchor your focus to that vision. My next tip is daily mental recalibration. So take a few minutes every single day to focus solely on your desires and what you want to manifest. Now, the reason for this is if you do this daily, then you are priming your brain to filter in information and opportunities that are in alignment with your goals. So you're essentially training your brain to change its focus to what you actually want to experience. My next tip is to quiet the noise. You essentially want to quiet the mental noise, and the best way I think to do this is by practicing mindfulness and meditation to calm your thoughts essentially. So what you want to do, whether you are actually sitting down to meditate or whether you just do this at moments throughout the day, is notice when you have unwanted thoughts and practice letting them pass by without attaching to them or without going into a mental spiral. This is the most effective way to gradually reduce the dominance of your unwanted thoughts. It's very difficult to just tell yourself to stop thinking things. If you tell yourself to not think something, then what's going to happen is most likely you're going to think about that thing. So instead, a much more effective way is to just notice when these thoughts come up, because realistically, unwanted thoughts are always going to happen, and instead learn to not attach to them. If you can learn that, they will eventually become less habitual. So the next tip is to implant new thoughts. Whenever you notice yourself thinking an unwanted thought, just gently redirect your focus to what it is you do want to experience instead. If you do this enough over time, then you are going to train your brain to naturally focus on the positive things instead. My next tip is to seek confirmation. You need to constantly be looking out for evidence that supports your desired reality. This is going to do two things. It's going to strengthen the belief in your desired reality, and again, it's going to train your reticular activating system to constantly be on the lookout for things that align with your desired reality instead of the opposite. So if you're constantly seeking evidence, and you are training your brain to naturally focus on the things that align with your desired reality. My final tip is to emotionally align. Emotions amplify our focus. Have you ever noticed when you're very emotional about something, it kind of engulfs your entire attention? Often this is something negative. When we're really upset about something, it's all we can think about. But we can also harness this power to amplify our focus on positive things. So try in whatever way you can to add emotions behind the things that you're trying to manifest. One way to do this is to do really in-depth visualizations of the reality you're trying to create. You want to visualize it so deeply by engaging all of your different senses that it starts to feel real to you, and you actually start feeling the emotions that are associated with that experience. If something has more emotional charge, then you will be more focused on it. So do whatever you can to add emotional charge to your desires. So quantum physics provides a very powerful analogy for manifestation. Your reality exists in multiple possibilities, just waiting for your focus to collapse one of those possibilities into reality. Don't leave it to chance or to probability. When you master your focus, you will be able to shift your reality. Now, if you want to understand more about the connections between quantum physics and manifestation, you can watch this video here. For now, I really hope you found this video helpful. If you did, please give it a thumbs up, and I hope to see you in the next video. Thank you for watching.